And we are live.
Make a step. What is that? Oh, I'm glad I did.
What are you drinking?
What was that? Who did you hear that?
I
Oh,
did.
that was Pot, I think. He got froze.
Well, where the hell did
How am
Tasha
I
go?
how am I freezing, man?
I don't know, you're glitching, but
I'm
yeah,
still glitching
nah, you
No.
good right now. We'll see what happens.
because I'm off the. I'm straight. I should have. Oh,
There
this.
she is. Hey.
She froze.
She's so froze.
But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this cracking. Yeah, Tasha work out her technical thing right there. But yeah, we're back. We're back. We're back. This is another. Well, I am your brother Mordeeb, if y'all don't know by now. This is another POD Put Out Direct podcast. And we got a great show today. Controversial, but we're gonna tackle it. Say what's up to my prestigious co-host, brother DCR, and sister J. And we have a guest today, Tasha, but she's frozen right now. But she'll work out a technical difficulties. We'll work on that.
I need to.
But yeah, man, how y'all doing? What's up? What's up with y'all? What's up?
We all right. We chilling.
I just remembered to send this link to Avi.
Yeah. Well, you can do that. We'll go ahead and get things going.
I'll do it on my other phone.
I had some current events that I wanted to talk about before we actually got into the show.
Yeah, you haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, because sometimes the current events, it's like they're so ever changing so fast. And certain things I'm like, if people are really interested in that. Now, I did see an article that I thought was very interesting. It was this Indian guy. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but dude hadn't washed in like 50 years. He hadn't bathed in 50 years. Literally. No water.
Sounds clean.
No nothing.
Sounds like he's pretty clean though.
The picture that they had of him, he was super grungy and filthy. But here's the catch.
He probably never got sick.
No, he was fine. He didn't get sick, nothing like that.
Right.
The funny thing is, the first time he actually got into some water and they bathed him and all of that, after all of those years, he died.
We did that to a patient once.
He was being protected in a certain way.
Everything I love.
What happened?
I swear on everything. This patient was so smelly, and he begged us not to bathe him, not to shower him, because he didn't say he would die. Do you know? We were like, no, you cannot stay in the facility like this, blah, blah, blah. And this was years and years ago. Years, like when I first became a nurse. Do you know he died the next day?
Yeah, this dude died after they bathed him. They scrubbed him down. They got all the dirt off, everything.
It was a shock. Like fish. You know how you put fish in certain water?
He died the next day.
And they have
that's a thing. That has to be a thing.
That's probably what it was.
When I saw the pictures of him, I was blown away because I was like, he looked like clay. He looked like a clay man. He was that filthy, but he was happy.
Right. But you know what that should teach us? Because that with the patient, it taught me something. Who are we to say? Who are you to say? Because somebody hasn't bathed in 50 years. Who are you to say that they have to take a bath or they need to take a shower? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, from a societal view, I think what happens with the body is the fact that the body adapts to its environment, and it's kind of like never changing your transmission fluid. They say after a certain thousands of miles, you might as well just leave it.
Right.
Because everything has kind of fused and became one system and it's working fine. But the minute you change the oil, it starts fucking up, slipping, and then now your transmission is shot. So when you look at our biology, when our biology adapts to something and it's functioning in that environment and it becomes hardened to that environment,
right?
Once you change it, that's a shock to the system. So, I get it. I get it. But I thought it was It was crazy. I didn't
That's
have my
deep.
slides. I didn't have my slides because I wanted to put a picture up of the guy. DCR, yeah, you got some interference on your phone.
I did what I had to do, man. Like I go back to maybe it was better the other way. Let me see.
But
yeah, who are we? Who are we? The people that even gave him a bath before he died. Who are they to say? Because he hasn't bathed in 50 years. What is it affecting their life, whether he did or not?
I don't know the motives. All I know is there are people who don't live by our standards, and they function fine. Now, if you take us with all our cleansing products and detergents and things and put us in that environment, we won't survive.
No, we wouldn't. But it's like going into somebody's house and saying, or going, like being around me and saying, like, okay, we don't want you wearing perfume. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you to
Once
people
again,
have the right to do what the hell they want to do?
I don't think it's a free will discussion. I think it's a societal discussion. I think it depends on what society you live in, what culture you live in. That's what it boils down to. I don't think it's a free will thing because, like, I've been around some foreigners. Let's take Africans, for instance, or some Indians, and they'd be quite musty. And I'm like, do they wear deodorant? You know, I question that. But the thing is, us with all our colognes and perfumes, we stink to them.
Right.
So it's all a society. It's a societal thing. You know. But I thought that story was very interesting. Another story I wanted to talk about, which I didn't have my slide. I'm gonna have my slides in the next show. I'm gonna tighten up on that. They were saying that I think it was the is it the X or the Y chromosome that dictates the gender? Joe, come, Joe, where you at? Focus.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Anyway, I think it's the
it's one of them.
It's one of them. I read it earlier. I forget it's X or Y, but anyway, they said that particular chromosome or whatever is degenerating and it's going extinct. At some point, gender will not be a thing anymore. So it'll give birth to a new species down the road,
Right.
which I thought was a very
that's the plan, right? That's the plan, right? That's what they're doing, right? You know what?
This is not a the article wasn't saying it was a man-made situation. It was an evolution situation. Man was evolving to that. Keep in mind, at some point when you get into ancient history, and I don't want to get too bogged down on that because we got to get into the topic. When you talk about androgyny, there was a point where there was, androgyny was a real thing. So not male nor female. So who knows? Maybe we just evolving back around to where this shit began. Who knows? But I thought the article was very interesting. But this wasn't a man thing. This was actually something that they found where we were evolving to a point where that chromosome was becoming it was degenerating. So when you degenerate, you don't produce or grow anymore. So I thought that was very interesting. But
very interesting.
That was.
What did you ask me, Dre? I'm sorry.
No, we were just talking about the article that I was reading about the chromosomes, and I was asking you which one of the chromosomes was X or Y that dictates the gender.
I want to say X. I don't remember.
I forgot too. That's why I can't.
I don't remember.
But I mean, our listeners get the gist of what I'm saying. That particular chromosome that dictates the gender is degenerating, and science is saying for long we'll be evolving into something without gender, whatever that means. But
but wouldn't that? Crazy. But you don't think that process is from what's going on though, like because they are altering the way we live and everything. So
that could be, but I can't say. We can't say. All we know is it's happening.
But you know what though? You can say that. You know what I mean? Because the world is going through change, and it's a process of change, like what we're experiencing from birth and everything, from what we watch, from the foods we eat, is like it could be happening because of those reasons.
Could be. I mean, my question is this: why were they even? I think my question is, how did they even come to that conclusion? Because it's something that they're observing and monitoring. So something's going on now,
right,
for them to come to that conclusion. But anyway,
I got one more thing before you go next. I didn't know. This is what I just found out today. I was looking at something about cartoons, right? The 80s cartoons, right? All the action cartoons and all that stuff, like Thundercats and all that stuff. I didn't know that they took them off the air because they were too violent. Yeah. I thought it was they ran out. So it got to a point where those cartoons were too violent and they had to shut it down.
Is that why they came off the air?
I think if that's what the narrative that they're going with, I don't think that's a true narrative. I think that's the narrative they're using. But how you gonna take the cartoons off the air and say they're too violent, but you have the movies that are worse?
No. I'm saying but they're doing that now. But that's why those cartoons didn't make it. They didn't make it because they were too violent. They were saying they were too
that kind. You know why that kind of makes sense?
They were too masculated.
Why it kind of makes sense though? Because remember when you would watch a soap opera or whatever the case is, and when they got to a point where they were about to kiss, it was a commercial break, so you never saw their lips meet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that that does kind of make sense. Like if they said it was too violent at that time,
right?
Like
so, but just think about what is it today. So they've been doing that. They've been doing that since the 80s. They was trying to demasculate. I mean, you know what I mean? So they've been working on this project for the longest. They've been working on this for the longest.
Yeah, of course.
Well, of course. I still say I don't even think that's the real reason. I think the real reason is, and this is my 2 cents. I think a lot of cartoons back in the day had a lot more substance to them. They had a particular message to them. They had a moral of the story to them. And they don't have that anymore. Yeah. And I would say this because I just read an article on this, how they're taking a lot of cartoons that we used to have, and then they're sliding in the agenda of making the men more feminine and pushing the women further out front in the cartoons and having the other type of relationships throughout the cartoons. They're pushing that heavy. So I just think, they had to take G.I. Joe, for instance.
Right.
You never saw anybody die in G.I. Joe, but they fought.
Right.
But there was always a moral to the story of being very vigilant about fighting against the bad guys and being a hero and being proud of your country and all that type of shit. So, but anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down in that. I'm gonna go ahead and run credits and run the intro, and we'll get back to the topic at hand. There she is. We are back.
I said that was nothing but the devil.
Man.
I had to log in time. Well, look at that.
We're having
you made it through the storm.
Some technical difficulties there. But yeah, welcome to the show. We saw you struggling there, trying to figure it out. You figured it out. But yeah, today's we were just going over some current events prior to you actually popping in and kind of getting it together. But I'm gonna go ahead and get into the topic at hand. So today's topic that I wanted to, well, first, before we get into this topic, this particular subject matter is not about any type of hate or anything like that. We're dealing with an underlining essence that, in my opinion, has permeated throughout the entire planet. Whether you can actually see it, but you definitely have felt it. And at points we do see it. But yeah, this is not about disliking anyone or anything. But we also are going to kind of shed our opinions and light on something that affects us directly as African Americans, people of color, melanated beings, whatever title you want to give us, something that we have to deal with. But we're going to give our insight on what we think about it. And the question is, do you guys think America as a whole, and I'm just choosing America because this is where we live, but globally, we'll get into the global thing too, but do you think America is still racist from which we came due to the inception of going back in the day, X amount of hundreds of years and what we had to deal with in this country? A lot of people say we've evolved and we've come a long way, and we've made great strides to a point where some people would say, no, it doesn't even exist anymore. That's a you thing. So we'll unpack that. But yeah, the question at hand is, do you think America is still racist? And the reason why I say still is because we've dealt with racism in this country. So let's unpack that. Let's be respectful. And yeah, let's do that. So who wants to tackle it first? Do you guys want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they.
For a
yes,
second, I just
America
gotta
is
run
still
down
racist.
for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta
Yes.
get it loose.
Do I think America is still racist? Okay. Well,
Yes.
let's deal with the aspect of race first. And I think that's important because you have people who genuinely dislike people for who they are and how they look. They hate them on those principles alone. And then you have racism as we know it, or in a nutshell, when we talk about white supremacy. White supremacy is like the religion of racism. And religion is one of those things that you believe in, and the more you believe in it, becomes a real thing. I think we have come a long way, but the country as we know it, I think when you look at evolution, I think things disappear from your sight, and we have this tendency of thinking that they don't exist when actually they still do. And let me tell you something about racism today. It's so subtle most of the time that you don't even know it's there, but it's there. And it's not always people who are going to be racist towards you, but you got to look at a whole entire system that's in place that is now racist towards you, and you can't even see it. People benefit from that system of racism. And let me give you an example. I try my best to make sure my kids see themselves in every aspect of their everyday life, whether it be what they're watching on television, whether it be the movies. I want them to see themselves as much as possible in the narrative. Now, that's something that I do. I make an effort towards that. A lot of people are not making that effort. They're living life as it is. Cool, fine. There's no harm in that. But here's how subtle racism works, because it works on your psychology. When your child, let's take you, if you have a daughter, when she's consistently watching shows, whether it be a Disney show or any show for that matter, and most of the people that she's seeing in positions of having a happy life, or they're enjoying shit, or who got the girlfriend or the boyfriend, these people typically don't look like melanated beings. They just don't. If your child is subjected to this for years, it shapes that particular child's view of how they see themselves. It shapes that child's perspective on who's important and who's not. It shapes that child's perspective on their position in the world. And it happens so subtly because parents don't, a lot of parents don't, they don't see anything wrong with that. It's just a show, but it's not really a show because there's the level of racism in it that's programming your child and you don't even know it. And now your child thinks that people who don't look like her, whether somebody tells her or not, or tells him or not, they get this subconscious thing that other people are better than them, or it's better for you to date one of them than someone that looks like you, because they're always shown in the light of they got more money, they got the big houses. When you see most of the shows and most of the movies, they're having a happy life. That's programming. This is the subtle aspect of racism that is more, in my opinion, more deadly than just flat out, I don't like you because of your skin color.
Yeah, white is clean and black is dirty, and that whole, yeah.
Those are the obvious things. We
Those,
deal with
they're
the
obvious, but I'm just saying, like, for younger children,
right.
like, you're being programmed to
Yes,
think
modern
that.
day racism.
You said something about seeing kids in the narrative. I had to write down because I have a lot to say. When it comes to that type of stuff, like, I wish I knew then what I know now, and as much as I know now, and as much as I like love us. Now, I'm not against certain things, but low key, I think I kind of am. Like, when it comes to us, I don't feel like we should be mixing and mingling and all of that stuff, but that's a whole nother topic. As far as seeing us in the narrative, that's exactly how I am, because I remember growing up at one point and I wanted a black doll, and there weren't, like, black dolls were not like common for you to like, not
like
like
a
now.
rarity. Like a
You know what I'm
rarity.
saying?
Hard
Yeah.
to find, like a rarity.
They were really hard to find. If you had one, you were like, whoa, like, you got a black doll. And a lot of times it was to a point where,
not to cut you off, but pause for 1 second. The fact that it was a rarity and it was hard to find, that goes back to that subtle thing that I was talking about, that system that's in place.
Right. Exactly.
But go ahead.
That's when you said that the subtle is what made me start writing. And it got to a point where when they did put the black dolls out there, you know how many young people didn't want those dolls because they thought those dolls were programming. They thought those dolls, like the black dolls, were the ugly dolls. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the same thing with G.I. Joe. Go ahead.
Looking at where we are now, like, we have gotten better in a sense where it's still there, very subtly, but it's still there. We've gotten better to a point where now they involve us in, like, we have to be involved in almost everything. You can't go to anything or see anything that does not involve us. However, that I believe that's simply because they don't want the backlash because of like social media, the internet, all of that stuff. People are more aware, and people are more they're more aware, and they're more vocal as to, okay, you have so it's more so like, we have to do this. Not that, it's something they have to do because they don't want the backlash when it comes to that. One more thing. You said something about people like thinking that it doesn't exist. The same people that think that, like, it's oh, that's just you. Oh, it's not a racist thing, or this doesn't happen, or those are the same people that could care less. It doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect them either way. It doesn't affect their children. It doesn't affect their family member. It's like seeing a homeless person. Oh, let me give them $5, and and you go about your business, and you completely forget that homeless person existed, or whatever have you. If you are not affected by it to a degree, or have experienced it to a degree, then yeah, you would definitely be like, oh that's, I think you're over exaggerating, or you're just making it more than what it is, or like that type of thing. If it's not affecting you personally, because we are people where, not us, but I'm just like everybody in the world.
Yeah.
Like when a matter takes place, yeah, you care about it for that second or the few minutes while it's there in your some people, while it's there in your, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to, but then once that moment passes, and you get back to your regular 9 to 5, and you get back to your home where everything is, fantastic, and life is great, or whatever have you, you're not thinking about any of that other stuff. Like, you might see these things on TV and think, oh, what did they do to, because you're in a whole nother box. If it's not affecting you could care less.
Yeah, I think it's a level of cognitive dissonance when you talk to certain people, and they have this reality that, and this goes back to the subtle racism. Here's why I say the subtle racism, in my opinion, is worse than the actual out front racism, because out front racism is always met with a level of resistance. So you come out your mouth and say the wrong things or do the wrong things to somebody from a racist perspective, you might get all your teeth knocked out. Something has to happen if that occurs.
Right.
But and people know that. But what they don't know is the psychological aspect is the machine that runs the entire system. If you go to another country, I don't care what country you go to, that's what we consider modern. They got television networks. They got a whole, if you went to Puerto Rico, if you went to Jamaica, any of these places you go to and you watch television and you watch the shows, there is a distinction between the fairer or lighter skinned individuals, or just flat out Europeans, who are pushed to the front of whatever it is as the standard, regardless of where you go. Now, I personally don't think there is a blueprint somewhere where somebody's being taught that, okay, you either white, you're light skin, or, whatever the case may be, and you need to be out front because we need to make sure people see you. I don't think that discussion is having. I think it's so subtle and ingrained in people's subconscious minds that this is just what people do now. What's on autopilot. Remember I talked about the spyware that runs on our subconscious mind that they've put there?
Right.
You have racist spyware that's running on people's subconscious mind all around the planet. So whether a person comes out and says something that is hateful to you, the bottom line is when the situation presents itself, you'll see how color matters when the situation presents itself. Okay. And that's when you really see the distinction. When something comes up, and now take police, for instance, how we're dealt with and how other people are dealt with. It's just protection for the, complexion for the protection. You automatically, and I'm not going to say all police officers because we got some really good police officers out there, and I got some in my family. And I don't think that somewhere somebody's reading the manual saying, hey, when you see niggas, go upside their head, do X, Y, and Z. I don't think that conversation is being had, to these good officers who serve and protect. What I'm saying is, subconsciously, just to see a person of color and be in a neighborhood that is not your neighborhood, and you're not from there, and they don't look like you, automatically and subtly, I gotta be a little afraid, and I gotta tense up, and I gotta do something different because it's in my subconscious, it's in my psychology to be this way. So when they say, they need retraining, bullshit. You can't retrain that.
You can't. Let me tell you something, like, because I do home visits, I'll drive through a neighborhood and the people walking or running or whatever have you, you have no idea. And I think it's so funny. I just smile and wave like, yeah, I'm here. Because they'll be looking like, what is she doing here? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, if it's even two, like, you can't hear the conversation, but it's kind of like it's not just like a throw up a hand like, hey, how you doing, or whatever. It's kind of like, and you might look in your rear view and they're looking back like, what, like, who is this? Like, what is she doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, we work in a society where in the hospitals, you still have patients that will come in and blatantly say, I don't want a black nurse. They flat out tell you, like, I don't want a black nurse. And too bad for them if the whole staff is black, like, we don't know what to tell you, like, you want to get one of us, you know what I mean? But yeah, this day and age, like, you still have, and I guess it would be the older people that are just kind of like on their way out of here. They're on their way out of here. But it's like, I don't want a black nurse. They'll flat out tell you, like, I don't want a black nurse.
So I don't know if you guys actually watched the Dr. Umar interview he did on the Breakfast Club recently about a many different black issues. And shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson because he's a very well educated brother. And I commend him for his mind and his agenda to fix something with us. I don't get caught up in personalities about what people do in their personal life or what they like or what their preferences are. I'm a pro-choice individual. I don't care what you choose to do. That's not my jurisdiction. But I do hold people's intelligence and what they're adding on to society as a jewel. And that particular brother has an add-on that's needed. But the thing is, what he was having some discussions with Charlemagne, and they talked about Deion Sanders, and they talked about, a little politics and this, that, and the third, and a lot of stuff going on with Kanye and some of the athletes and so forth and so on. I noticed that Charlemagne, and not just him, but I noticed in really good conversations when you have an enlightened personality speaking to someone, they can say something that's so profound that you really need to pause and think about. But I noticed in these conversations, it kind of goes over people's heads and they keep on talking past that point, never really to unpack what a person just said in the moment. Right. So much can come out of one statement, but people are so caught up in their ego and their agenda, they talk right past the point that had just been made. I've seen that happen with Malcolm X in different interviews, because I go back and watch his interviews, and I watch how you have, well, anybody really, who's challenging something, when you really drop some science on someone and drop some facts on someone and some information on someone, you got two things. You got to entertain what the person just said before you go to the next point, or you're going to hear what they said and keep on with your agenda. Talk right past it. And I hate that. I hate that with a passion. We're going to rewind and we're going to deal with what I just said first before we go to the next talking point.
You're
and I
so
kind of,
like that.
yes, I'm
You're
going to bring
so
you back.
Like that.
Charlemagne has a fixation with why he does not like Kanye. Umar is unpacking so much for him to understand, and he's stuck egotistically on why he don't like Kanye West. I'm confused, but
the
I
same
get
way
it.
everybody was with Trump.
Right. If you know politics, if you really understand politics, that conversation and understanding is different. When you don't know politics, you make responses from 2 points. Either you have an agenda or you caught up in your emotions, but you got to pick one. And most people be caught up in it. Most people of color, we be caught up in their emotions, making no type of political,
it's designed, though,
intellectual sense at all. But
to make you emotional. When you're emotional, you do get caught up in the web. So that's the whole thing right there, you know.
So what do you? I mean, far as the race
I want to hear
concerned,
from Tasha.
Oh, I'm gonna get to Tasha. I got a question for her. But before we get there, what do you?
No.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So the subtleness of racism, and I remember we having a conversation with DCR, and he was saying, you know, a lot of the racist stuff that goes on today is being taught to children, and children are growing up and keeping this thing alive. So DCR, you want to explain that whole concept? You want to elaborate on that?
It's not just white people. It's not just
listening to a POD podcast experience.
But
They are put out direct.
I think every nationality plays a part in keeping racism alive, but they don't know it. You know what I'm saying? They all play a part. And to me, it's also developed when a person, put it this way, if a person don't like my skin color, I'm going to feel a certain way about their skin color. If you get caught up in it, you understand what I'm saying?
As a response.
Yeah, because me being light-skinned, I experience things on social media. People always got something smart to say. And sometimes I want to lash back and it start making me feel a story, but I know I'm not like that because I wasn't raised in a fucked up generation. You know what I mean? Like, so I know how to just cut that off real quick and just go back to being myself. But it's a blast between each other. And the biggest racism to me is really black people against black people. I just think black people are so judgmental against shades of skin and all that kind of shit. They ain't even focused on anybody else. It really exists within us now. You know what I mean? So
you're saying basically racism as you know it really exists within people of color having a level of self-hate for themselves. Is that what you're saying? Or clarify if you...
Well, I'm saying we know racism exists, but sometimes you have to fix a certain thing before you go to the next. At first it was blacks, whites. Now it's black. You know what I mean? But that still exists too, the other one. But it's more like black now. Like we're going through this judgmental thing by looking at each other now. You know what I mean?
So who do you so which one you think is greater right now? Black, white, or black?
Black is greater.
Is more of a problem in your opinion?
Yeah, black, because if you can't fix that, you'll never be able to fix the other one. You know what I mean? So first you got to fix what's in-house before you start dealing with what's out-house. At first it was, everything was like you said, which was like straight up, what side with what sides. But now it's just a skin tone thing now, dog.
So Tasha, what you think? about what he just said? I'm gonna elaborate on what he said, but what do you think about what he just said?
Well, I've actually experienced it. So going to an all-black college, which was like I was so souped to go to this school because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be amongst my people, But it was like, well, I've always experienced it growing up anyway because it was like, I was called high yellow, you know, white, you basically white. I'm like, I'm not even close to white. I have white in my family, but I'm not even. But anyway, but even going to the all-black university I went to, I was like so excited. But then I still had people like there was like little instances, whatever, where I was kind of like stuff was said because I was light.
Right.
Make
I was, what I
you
mean?
hate
And it's
yourself.
like, damn. I'm sorry.
It can make you start looking at yourself in a certain way. It can start making you like, you know what I mean? It's a mental thing.
Yeah, it bothered me because I'm like, damn, we are all supposed to be one. You know what I mean? Like this is my time to really know my culture, and I guess I went in it for a different reason, but it was shocking to me that like, damn, you hating on me because I'm lighter than you. It kind of reminded me of remember that movie School Days, and they had the Jigaboos against the wannabes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't think I'm better than anybody. Just because I'm light skinned doesn't mean I think I'm better than you. Like if you only knew how much I admire the beauty of your skin, your darkness, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So it was kind of so I get what Pot is saying because I have experienced it a lot. I still kind of do even now, which is crazy to me.
I ain't gonna lie.
Anyway, yeah.
I'll fuck somebody up if they even approach me like that today. Like really approach me on some shit like that. If they say something like call me light skinned or something like that, I'll probably punch them in their shit. Honestly, because I don't play that shit. That shit is immature.
And I think
that shit is for weak people to me. That's for weak motherfuckers.
It's like real. People try to joke about it. Like they be like somebody said to me, "How you live in Florida and you still high yellow?"
Somebody said that was
yeah. It should be crazy, yo. So we experienced.
They was like, "How you live in Florida? And you still high yellow? You go to Florida, and you still high yellow? Like I'm supposed to be tanned up all the time." Listen, it's just what difference does that make? Oh, or here's the joke: you was the house nigga. You the house nigga.
You know what? I grew up like me and my sister. I had an aunt that like my cousins are a lot darker. I think maybe this is what shaped and molded like my love for like just anyway. My aunt, she was like she would wear like these blonde weaves or whatever because people always thought she was like Puerto Rican. We have white in our family too, clearly. And she used to treat my cousins so bad. Like they were like my cousins were like darker. She used to treat them so bad. Hindsight, looking back, and she would always like praise me and my sister like we were so fantastic or whatever. But when it was just me and my sister, she would treat me like dog shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because my sister was a lot lighter, like she was more high yellow. So at one point I grew up thinking that my sister was, this is something I never said ever in my life. So it's on live, documented for the world to see. First time ever. My mother doesn't even know this.
Uh-oh.
But growing up,
here we go.
I used to think that because like she was lighter skinned than me, like everybody knows Sabrina, that she was smarter, she was better looking, she was way better than me. And even at one point, like I think when we were in middle school, people used to always say that they thought she was the older sister. And it's because like I would kind of be a little shyer or kind of like more timid, like insecure when it was like me and her, because I always felt like, because of my family, that
programming.
programming. And growing up with Haitians, there was like this thing like where your complexion and I think like as far as money, they judge that as like class in Haiti.
Right.
It was like a class thing. It wasn't like it was more like class. Like, you might have came from a family with money and this and that and blah blah blah. And that whole programming thing. Anyway, yeah, so I grew up and I had like this insecurity where I felt like my sister was. I remember the exact day and moment. I'm telling you guys this, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at that where I was when I was like, I said to myself, she's not stronger than me, she's not smarter than me, like where that just like broke, like where it was like, wow, like okay, you know what I'm saying? Because I saw like a whole different.
You were seeing things differently because of the way you were treated from other people. Right?
Yeah, I thought she was like way better, way smarter.
Not what I'm saying, but how was she towards you though?
She was like regular, like me and my
That's
sister.
What I'm trying to say.
We were like
this.
Like,
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the whole thing with this shit. People let other things around them affect how they look at you.
But when you're younger,
yeah,
I'm saying, like you don't have the maturity, you don't know any better. Like I'm like literally, if I knew then what I know now, and as slick mouth as I can be or was at that one point back then, I would have told her to fuck off. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like aunt or no aunt, like, but this is like the type of, and remember I tell you, she sent her children, like she sent my cousins to like private school. They had to be all white schools, they had to be like the only two black kids or whatever, and these all white schools and whatever have you. People thought she was Spanish, and she drove a Benz and blah blah blah. So it was like all about like class, and the lighter you are, the prettier you are, the smarter you are, all of that stuff. But yeah, y'all heard it first here.
And that's what most of all that
sister was.
I guess
way
that's
better because she was light skinned.
That's what I'm saying though, but that's where all that comes from. It's like
when you're a kid, you don't know, like and you watch the grown-ups, and you think when the grown-ups say stuff, it's law. Like
right.
The grown-ups said it, so that's like
you really don't know what light-skinned people go through. You know what I mean? Like you always talk about black and white, but people don't think about you got two sides now. You got white and you got black. And you got them both looking at you. You feel like a what you call it, a mutt or something. Even though mutts are great dogs, they're very universal. Right. They can do 1,000 things. They can do both things. But I'm just saying, but you're looked at like that, so you really don't really fit in a lot of categories. Because I remember even working at certain jobs, I didn't fit in from either side. You know what I mean? I wasn't really right from either side. So it made me develop a certain feeling. Like I said, it's not a real, nothing really. It don't take over because all my closest friends are dark skinned and all that shit. So I don't have no problem with skin color really. But the real thing is, but when you start like social media fuck with you in the mind. Your social media is a fucking demon, dog. I'm telling you, because social media, all the people that feel like that, they can type their feelings on social media. So you start seeing a lot of stuff that you aren't used to seeing, you know what I mean? Just by social media, like, damn, it's hate like that, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's like you got to face both sides now, you know what I mean? So it's like,
and like now that I know things the way that I know them, like the kids here will tell you, like they go get, because I might go get a doll or something, or create some sort of avatar online or whatever have you. And they know I'm not going to be impressed unless they come to me with some chocolate or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, they already know. Like they might see something on TV like, look, Anna, look, this is, and it's like, oh yeah, that's nice, because I'm so.
Yeah, you have to be pro. You have to be.
I'm so.
Well, I'm not going to say you have to be. It is
so
smart for you to be pro self. Anybody, any race, regardless of who you are, you should be pro self. Not from a hateful standpoint, but prideful of who and what you are and what you come from. And that's the thing that we have to get. But everything that you guys explained is a symptom of that subtle racism that exists around the entire planet, regardless of how it comes out and manifested itself. It's still a symptom. But the real sickness at the end of the day is racism that has been created and implanted inside the entire matrix of this planet. And that's what I'm talking about. When we speak of America as a whole, America is the country where, great country, but there's things that are in place that have been purposely put there to continue to perpetuate this thing that causes what we're discussing right now. That's why I tell people I don't entertain conversations about, black people and, how they rob and kill and steal and do all this goofy shit and be out here and killing and shooting one another and God knows whatever else that we are into. I don't entertain those conversations anymore because I understand that is a sickness and we're sick. We're healing, but we're sick. And when you're sick, you do shit that's not normal. But let's talk about how we got this way. Nobody really wants to have that conversation. Nobody wants to talk about how we got to this mindset. I call it the nigga mind. And the nigga mind is like baking a cake. The ingredients that went into producing this particular mindset, nobody wants to really talk about. Nobody wants to pull the covers back and say, hey, who's baking this cake? Who baked the cake?
No, because it would make too many people aware.
They don't they know. Some people just are so caught up in like so attached to how they've been thinking all their life, they just don't want to change it.
I try to change that with the kids because like Braylon had three eye surgeries, so one of his eyes is different. But when he gets up in the morning, I'm like, good morning, handsome. Hey, little king. Like those, because you will not tell my grandson that he is like ugly or a light bright or whatever you want to say, and he take it. He's not gonna take it. Kasaya either. Like I'm cute. Like I'm beautiful. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like these are things like if I grew up and I had that, like, and no, parents do what they do. If they know better, they do better or whatever have you. So none of us, I don't think any of us had that growing up. Like where your parents are like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," or "I love you," and all of that. We didn't get it. Like
because our parents came from an era of struggle, welfare,
right.
Food stamps and shit like that. So their whole
No
MO was work,
them.
survive.
Right.
We come from parents that we gotta survive. All that other stuff. What?
Oh, man, you met on poverty, nigga.
And that's what builds our tough skin too, because the kids today are
they're
pussy.
privileged. They're privileged.
Yeah.
They're spoiled.
Yeah.
But let's go to the chat. I got some questions in the chat, and we're gonna say what's up to Dave because Dave is watching. What have Dave said here? This type of programming has lasted throughout generations to generation. And this is what I'm talking about. That's true. And this is what I'm talking about. Racism as that thing where you have people hating people. That's kind of an outdated program. This shit has been updated. And the upgraded program it's in our history books. It's in the television. It's in the food. It's in our neighborhoods. Like you go to certain neighborhoods. I don't know nobody of color who voted to have a liquor store in their neighborhood ever. I don't know anybody of color who was on the board to decide we want 4 or 5, liquor stores in our community. Somebody made that decision. Me personally, that goes to the machinery of racism again. Somebody makes a decision to put Starbucks in a particular neighborhood or the good organic food and restaurants in a particular neighborhood and not in another one. Somebody makes that decision. That's that subtle racism thing again. It's there, but we are so distracted, we don't really see it. It's a part of everything. Just keep moving. And that's when I asked the question of racism in America. We're dealing with a machine that produces this shit, and we fight about it on a very low human level. But the bottom line is, we're a part of a bigger organism that perpetuates all this stuff, and nobody wants to talk about it.
And we know it, because if I want, this is to the shoppers out there, if y'all watching. If you want a nice, maybe like a Gucci bag, or for the low, or something that's like out of season or something like that, or some nice Prada shoes or something, and you want to go to like Burlington or TJ Maxx or something like that, you're not gonna go in our neighborhood. You're gonna go over to Wellington, or I don't know, wherever the rich folks are at in your neighborhood, and like in your city. You'll go to where the rich folks are at in your city, and you'll find all that good stuff, all that fantastic.
You'll find it
stuff
cheaper too. You'll find it cheaper.
You're like,
too.
oh my gosh, like
you'll find better food, cheaper. Everything's cheaper.
Like, yeah.
Don't be a sucker, man. Like everybody just, I don't know, man.
They're not.
I don't even think it's not us being a sucker. It's us. We are acting out what the system was programmed to do. That's what we're doing.
That's why I said we know it. That, like, to the shoppers, like, we know this, because we know if you want something of a specific type of whatever, it could be a church hat or whatever. You're not going to look for it,
and that's just clothes. That's just clothes. Let's think about food.
Right, right.
People don't understand that there's a level of racism, and we're going back to that subtle, transient racism that you can't see, but it's a part of the machinery.
It's subtle, Dre, but we know it, because women know.
I don't think we know the way you think we know, because if we know, then we can kind of disrupt the system. Some things
maybe we know in a sense where
here's the thing though.
We're not acknowledging the whole system behind why you have to go to another city or another, you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, you're right, because we do have the conversations of where we don't have a good such and such over here, but we got over there.
Yeah, but here's the thing too, though. It also, what I mean, like here, how can I say this? What you guys are explaining is how you make profit off of poverty. You know what I mean? So you put bullshit into a generation and make a lot of money off it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, everything around us is much more expensive. Like around here, like, in any kind of poverty neighborhoods, you pay more for what you want than you pay in a rich neighborhood. You know what I mean? You'll get a good deal out there somewhere. The stores, everything is just better deals. But when you're in a poor neighborhood, you're paying more for less. So I also see that dealing with a money level too of people. You know what I mean? So it's not just racism, but it kind of developed into also what's in your pockets. You know what I mean? Because to me, money is the new blood. You know what I mean? And I call it slave food. Money is slave food.
I'm gonna interject on that on that part. You said that it's more economic thing. They're making money. It's about a money thing, right?
Yeah.
I'll say 50% of that is true. In my opinion, 50% is economic, because you're gonna profit off of that. The other 50% has to be race, because we're the race that this is propagated upon.
Yeah, because we are
race.
Big in poverty.
So race has to play a factor in it. It has to.
Right. It has to, yeah, because we do make the masses of being poor, right? I mean, it's still, you know what I mean?
They've spent so much time. They have spent so much time and structured things in a way where look at buying homes like ages ago. Like they've structured and spent so much time creating things and making it where, because we're not just a set of people that just don't have nothing and we broke and we lazy and we don't want to work and all of this stuff. Like,
the opportunity is not there.
from the beginning of time, you had like a group of us that were like wealthy, but you still weren't allotted those privileges based on how you looked. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but then you have
the way.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the way that they've structured everything, like you're black, whatever the case is, they don't care if you had $20 million. You're not getting into this community. Period. According to the way this policy is, or whatever have you, it's up until recently the banks and mortgage brokers, the mortgage lenders and stuff like that were changing things to be fair to us, because they structured it in a way where it was made for us to be behind. And
there is an example though. They always make examples to make you feel like you got a chance though. There are some exceptional people that's from
they give you some false hope or
you know, I mean, you always got to have at least a picture like, if he can do it, I can do it, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like they kind of make you feel like it's fair, but deep down inside you the numbers tell the truth.
This is why I say that we are everything, because no matter what hurdles, whatever the case is that they put in, we still get to a point where you got, like, we want that too. Like, you have to make it, even though it's not fair, but you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. And I hate to use the analogy of roaches. Don't beat me up.
Oh man, what kind of roaches are you talking about? Cockroaches or the ones that you
palmettos?
No. Here's the thing about the roaches, man. The worst kind of roaches to have is that they call them the German ones. You know, all the roaches that we grew up with. Those are the bugs. Like, no matter what you do, I don't give a fuck how much you bomb your house, how much spray, how many traps.
They're there.
They could be in the microwave. You can't even nuke them in the mic. They still alive. Like. And I hate to use this analogy, but we're like those bugs. They're so resilient. You literally will have to just fucking move.
Right. We are.
And even in moving, they still hitching a ride somehow. You got to leave that shit. The roaches, yo.
That's what you're saying.
So
I mean, that is nature, though. You can't eliminate anything. In nature, it's always somehow it's gonna, you know, somehow evolve, or still you can't kill nature. You can't kill bugs. You know what I mean? It's like you think you killed them all, but then you get a whole set of them coming like in a couple of months. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't.
That's why I always say that we're everything. Like we are, like we are, like we.
But the thing is, man, I think the big problem in the world. Racism, everything, but the key problem is we know what it is. It's the religion, and religion is money. It's the new religion. Like I said this before, money is a new religion. People believe in money more than they'll give their lives for it. They'll kill themselves. They'll work at a job 100 times and destroy their body just for money. They'll do anything. They'll forget about their health. They'll eat shit food just to have more money in their pockets. They'll, you know, I mean, whatever they can do to save more money, they don't care. Money is
anytime Pot talks about money, you know what I mean? I start to feel like, damn, like, do I like, I wouldn't sell my soul or like,
but you don't know that you're
betray, or betray my family or anything like that. But I can't say that I don't love money, like where I wouldn't, you know, gotta have, you know,
money is a necessity that we need to function in society. Like, so regardless of how we view it and our relationship to it, and I think that's the key. Your relationship to money is the can be the issue. But money as a whole is just a means of exchange. That's the system that we live in. It's
the barter system,
capitalism. Right. So you got to have a means of exchange to maneuver through the system. That's a given. To be a productive so-called citizen, money is needed, but your relationship to it is the problem.
I've never seen anybody, but you're like, you can't buy anything or do anything constructive off of like looks and character, and you need money. You need money to do certain things.
But I
don't care how much they say. You don't say you love money. I love money.
But let's tie it back.
For it. I don't love it. I do it because I gotta work within the means of the system to actually live in the system.
I love money.
Have it.
I want to die.
I have
and
no
leave my
love for
children
something that's made out
not
of
having
paper
to struggle or whatever
it has
the
no
case is.
strength to it.
I don't want to struggle now.
It's
so,
it's shit. Because
we go through
honestly,
highs and lows. But
here's the real key though. What I've been saying this for the longest though. No matter what kind of thing this whole thing is built on, it's still a man-made project, whatever the fuck it is. It really still has no importance because a real man, a real strong-minded person don't need money. They don't need none of this shit. And that's the key.
That's so very true.
It's like
my mother.
I digress.
It's your weaknesses because you feel you need this, you need that, I need this to do that, you need this. You don't need none of this shit. It's just that you believe in this religion. So this religion is your life. So you put the religion before your life. So you can only see through the religion, but you can't see without it. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's really not important at all. It's just a piece of paper you can wipe your ass with at the end of the day. It really is. So
totally agree. And you sound like my mother saying that because like my mom will always say like put her in a box or whatever have you. But I think the way that I am right now is because I've been through a lot, like single mom, raising kids and all of that stuff or whatever, that I don't want to have to go through certain things. Like, so yeah. When it comes to
for sure.
Okay, let me referee this a little bit. So DCR got his view on money. Jay got her view on money.
I love money.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about money. And we are debating something that's money is not the problem. Money is not the problem. I'll say this again. Money is not the problem. It's your relationship to the money is the problem, which means man is the problem.
Yeah,
not
man,
the money. Not the money. Not the money.
But it's still a game.
Wait. No. Even if it's a game, then we need to be discussing the system like we're doing now. Money in itself is not the problem. The system may be the problem, not the money, because it's just an inanimate object. It's like guns. People say, well, I hate guns and I don't like guns and guns are dangerous. Guns don't fire themselves. People fire guns.
Right.
But guess what?
People kill people.
But guess what? If you worship, because it is worship to me. If money is... No, listen. Hold on. Listen. This is what I mean. This is what I mean by worship. Every move that's made in this world is really based on money. It ain't based on love or anything else. I don't care what nobody say. It ain't based on no goddamn love. Everything in this world moves with money.
That's a damn lie.
That's just capitalism. That has nothing to do with money.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm trying to say. But still,
currency.
The tool that's currency. But guess what? He who makes the money is God to this world. That's what you got to understand. A person who makes the money controls this world and is God to it because they know how to produce the money. And as long as you look at it as your need in survival, they are God in your book because he who has the most money is the God in your book.
You put me with somebody.
That's a relative statement. That's relative. That's only how
you put me with somebody with some money, and I guarantee you, I'm going to sponge everything that I need to learn from that person in order to know how to do what they do so that I don't have to like.
I understand you. No. I understand what you're saying. I'm just going down to the deep roots of it. I'm just saying he who has all the money controls everything. That's all I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying they control everything. The banks control everything. All the motherfuckers with all the money control everything because what you need is what they own. So therefore, they are on top of you. So you have to go through them in order to get anything, especially printing the money. If I print the money, I'm your God because you need money to eat.
I would learn how to work that printer and what time to activate it and all of that stuff.
Because I work, I work for it, but I don't have that relationship.
I need the ingredients.
I just look at it.
Okay, so let me pause for the cause. So basically, y'all just debating two different ideologies. One is saying I don't have that type of relationship with money, and one is saying, hey, in this society, I need money to have the quality of life that I want. That's not debatable. There's no need to debate it any further. One says he doesn't have a relationship with it, and one is saying I need it to better my quality of life. I'm the same person. I need the money to better my quality of life and for my children. That is it. So we don't need to debate if it's religion, if this is that. But the bottom line is there's still a racist system that perpetuates our relationship with the money, that distorts why we do what we do.
That's true.
That's all racism. That's all racism.
Can I ask y'all something? I want to ask a question.
You are listening to a POD podcast.
I got a question. Y'all might know this. I don't know this. I'm just asking a question. Is there any black-owned banks?
I believe there are very far.
I mean, I need something. Not believe ain't gonna get us nowhere. Is there any black-owned banks?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure there are.
Is it really black-owned? Like, come on, is it?
Try to do a black-owned bank. What's his name?
I'm googling
there
it right
is
now.
no, there is
There are black-owned banks.
Yeah.
Where at? What's the name?
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Let's get to another question. Pot done got us off into some old religion and God.
This about racism, though.
Talking about money. Our parents also came from unhealed trauma, but that's a different topic. Yeah, our parents did come from unhealed trauma, but at the same time, that trauma was still perpetuated by a system that was based on racism, and it is what it is. We all come from that. People, here's the thing about people who say, well, you can't blame them because they're a product of that. But here's the thing people don't understand about racism. You have some people out there who will say, hey, there's nobody's hating on you. Nobody hates you. There's no racism. You just need to stop bullshitting, get up, do something with your life, and stop blaming everybody for your problems. It's you. It's nobody else. I agree.
True.
I agree to a degree.
I agree 100%.
It's easy for somebody who's not a product of something to make that cognitive dissonance statement.
Right.
How you gonna tell somebody to get up, pull their bootstraps up, go out there and make something of themselves because it's just that easy? Now, here's the disconnect between those who don't have to experience that subtle racism and those who do. We have to work extra hard to achieve whatever it is we want to achieve in life. Some people, they benefit off the system because the system was designed to be easier for them. Whether they know that or not, they're born into it. And when you're born into something, you don't see easily how it works. You just go on your life and you know, things kind of fall into place and that becomes normal to you. You have people of Caucasian persuasion that benefit from the system that was structured around racism, right?
Right.
And it's not that they're out there being hateful towards people,
right?
But they have a different reality, a different universe, a different lens that they see life through, and they want to take you and put you and view you through that same lens, and they cannot do that. You can't view life through a European privileged lens and say people of struggle should do things based on how you see life.
You don't have that.
And this is the problem that I have when they say stuff like, well, just get up and choose to do better. I agree to a certain point. You should make a choice. But at the same time, we have to work extra fucking hard just to get to point B.
Yeah. Exactly. Because you got all kind of hurdles. All kind of hurdles and shit put in your way that they don't even acknowledge or see, or because they haven't experienced it. It's a straight and narrow for them, a straight road.
Right.
You know, it's how hard could it be because they're not on your path.
And people will get mad at you and say, stop pulling the race card because they can't see the racism because it's so subtle.
Going back to me saying, like, if it's not something that you experience or you even that
relate to, they don't even relate to
daily,
it at all.
They don't even relate. Like if it doesn't affect you on a regular basis, like what do you care?
But who are you to say, oh, just get up and get your shit together and choose to do right?
That's people.
You know,
But you know, a big problem too, though.
Because you have women that have never been pregnant trying to tell a mother or somebody else what to do with their families or children or whatever, and they've never experienced motherhood,
right?
Or how something should go. Like, or you have people that's diabetics and trying to tell a vegan how to live their lifestyle. Like, that's just people. Like,
you know what, you said the key thing too, because here's another thing. There's reasons why people there's a majority of people that's not successful, and there's a majority of people that are successful. Because here's the thing, we all think different and we all have different strengths. You know what I mean? So the big problem with, I really believe, poverty is because some people are trying to be something that they aren't capable of actually being. If they tried to be who they were really, it would have to probably go the opposite, but that's where their success is crying for. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big problem too. Like, because you want to be a doctor, you want to be this, you want to be that. Not even a doctor, because when you're in poverty, all you think about fucking sports, most of us. But all I'm trying to say is, like, it's the truth though. Niggas ain't even trying to be. That's a big issue to me too. But all I'm saying is, like,
that's
the things that you're really good at is not that direction, but you're trying to go that direction because that's what you're told to go, and that's where there's where your success is. You know what I mean? So that's where you're trying to go, because that's something that you're trying to be. When you just be you, your gifts, you can be very creative and you can do a lot with your own gifts. You know what I mean? Like, you can like take it to a whole different level. But when you're trying to be something that you're not, you're gonna fall, eventually, because you're just doing it for success. You're doing it for this and that. You're not living to me. And basically you just get caught up in that web where poverty and this and that, because you're trying to be like this person. This person is different from you. They can adapt to this type of way of living and doing what they do. But that's what they're good at. That's what they love doing. You're trying to be that. And that's the problem. When you know your shit is somewhere else. You know what I mean? You just somewhere else, but you don't, if you can't pursue your dreams, you'll never be successful. That's how I see it.
Your dreams are not your dreams for most people. Most people are conditioned to think that they should be and live and see themselves a certain way. It's a conditioned response. Once you start taking your mind back, and this ties into the last show we had, the first level of freedom is taking back your psychology, your mind, and how you think. That is the first level of anything. It goes back to the show with Dr. Umar when they talked about reparations. And I think it's the state of California who wants to give Black people $230,000 to each individual for reparations. And Charlemagne was kind of saying that's not a bad thing. But here's the thing: what Umar said. He said, reparations in itself is not a monetary payout. A monetary payout is a trap, because once you get that payout, you still don't ultimately fix the problems that we have in our community. You just gave a bunch of people money. The money's going to go back from which it came, but you still didn't fix none of the problems. And some of the problems that we have are PTSD from all the shit that we've been through throughout the generations. You got to fix that shit. Then you got to give us economic empowerment when it comes to our money and banks. Then you got to give us our land. And there's a whole bunch of shit that comes with reparation versus somebody just giving you a chunk of money and saying, here's your payout for what we did. Go live your life. That's a trap. And I agree. All of this, what we're discussing, boils down to a psychological thing. And the only way we move forward is you got to take your mind back first. Then you got to get some help on healing. And after you heal, then you start putting your history back together and moving forward. So whether it be money, whether it be, bad food in our communities or Black people having issues amongst themselves, the bottom line is that we are not in our right minds. And then being not in your right mind and dealing with a system that is designed to keep you back and you got to fight extra to move forward, then the bottom line is, it's going to boil down to you individually getting your shit together from a mental perspective. And this is why we have to program our children to look and be how we want them to be. That's our duty. This is how we turn this shit around. We have to breed out ignorance. It's not you can't buy your way out of this shit. You have to breed it out. That is the true weapon of choice. You have to breed out the ignorance.
And there's so much power in
yeah.
our history.
Right.
There's so much power
our
in our
job
history.
is to get our history, and then we have to program our children, and then our children have to give birth to what the change that we want. We gotta fucking put the seeds out there to make the change come about. It ain't about changing the system or none of that shit, because the system is a mechanical thing that has to implode upon itself. That'll happen. We gotta breed out the bullshit. Everybody can't make it where we're going.
If people even think, if we even think to a degree of why are we like the most fought against? Why do they not want our history to be like learned? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Like, if you look at all of that stuff, like they don't, if it's not worth something, or if it's not of like what I'm saying goes back to me saying there's so much power in our history. Like thieves don't break into empty houses. That keeps popping in my head. But like, if something wasn't so valuable and kind of like not really a weapon, but like technically speaking, like you want to keep a set of people not knowing where they come from, who they are, whatever the case is, so that they don't know how powerful they are, or how, you know what I'm saying? Like, do y'all get what I'm trying to say?
I get what you're trying to say, but knowing how powerful you are is one thing. But you got to understand how, going back to the question, is America still racist? Here's why America and the global system has to be racist, because once you start giving people their history back, now people say, damn, the house that I'm living in is actually my house. And the people who are telling me, who have taught me that this is not my house, and they are occupants that don't belong. Why would you allow people to realize that you're the true owners of the fucking land?
Right.
Why would you allow that to happen? I steal your shit and then teach you your shit is my shit. And then at some point, I'm going to let you learn that your shit is your shit. Now I got to give up your shit and I got to go somewhere.
So you summed it
That's
up.
why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Exactly.
You are listening to a POD podcast experience. We are put out direct.
Dave says, Dr. Khalid Mohammed said that reparations is to repair the damage.
Go back. Dave said a couple of things that were pretty good.
Well, the one thing he said about Dr. King once said that it's hard to tell a bootless individual to pull himself up from his bootstraps. Exactly. And that's the problem that I have. Well, it's not a problem, but because I understand that even people who haven't walked our path, they ignorant because they don't have the right intelligence or information to understand where I'm at.
Hello, Moto.
Whose phone is that?
What is that? That's Pot.
No, Cooper.
These nuts. Got him. Got him.
What y'all talking about? I didn't hear what y'all said.
Pot, was that you?
Hello, Moto.
I got to get him up out of here with all that. Pot. But anyway,
oh my gosh.
Let me see. Dave had another comment. Because two black people in love is unstoppable. True, Dave. True, Dave.
That's very true.
I love how Dre is giving himself applause after everything he says. Yeah, let's do that again. Let's do that again. Oh. Yo, he talking about Pot's phone. Yeah, Pot's phone. But yeah, in a nutshell, man, I think that we talk about racism, we talk about this country, and keep in mind, you have people of other races who genuinely, they genuinely love and care. And I'm one of those people. I genuinely love and care, but at the same time, I would tell anybody from any race or culture that you should prop up your culture and your people. That you should do that. Like that's healthy, not to a degree of disliking someone just by the way they look or where they're from or what they believe in. All that stuff is a level of ignorance that's very dark. I personally, if in a perfect world, I wish we all can just coexist in a manner of not having these boundaries, but that's not the case. But I will say this, that and I say this all the time, from all the history that I've learned, all the people that I've come across, all the books that I've read, I've come to the conclusion, it's going to sound very morbid and destructive, but in order for us to get to the next phase, this thing has to come down. The system itself has to implode, and whatever's left, if we planted our seeds right, we'll give birth to something that's more conducive to where we need to be as a planetary species, because shit's out of control.
Can you hear me?
For what you were
are
saying,
listening
you
to a
said
POD podcast experience. We are
like what you started off saying. Just because you're pro something, like pro black or pro whatever you're pro, doesn't mean that you're anti everything else.
Right. We don't give
And
no other
that's
culture.
the problem. That's the thing that people tend to confuse. Because you're pro something, it's almost like they hear you're pro something, they figure you're anti everything else or anti. And that's the misconception with a lot of stuff. Like when you're.
Let me ask Tasha a question. If Asians are pro-Asian, is that bad or is that good? She can't hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I was just thinking, like, I don't think it's bad to be. I mean, if you're for your people, your nationality, there's nothing wrong with being for your people. But where it gets tricky is if you are so pro your people that you start to act out on anyone who's outside of that.
So would that be pro, or would that be along the lines of? Because what I'm hearing you say is being pro is fine when you act out towards other people.
When you act out,
you have now left the arena of being pro yourself, and now you're kind of spilling over into the arena of
racism.
Racist.
Right.
Because I can be for my people. I could be, regardless if they think I'm black enough or not, I could be for my people. But when it gets to the point where I'm like, so, for us that I don't see anything else, and everybody else and everything else is the devil, and I act out on it, then that's when it gets to a racist.
When you get the mentality of it's my way or the highway, when it comes down to coexisting with people. And I think we're, just by nature, we're tribal people, and I don't think, just from a historical perspective, we're supposed to be some big organism of people of color, and we're all supposed to be together singing Kumbaya. I don't think it's supposed to be like that based on historical data. We're tribal people. Yeah, we look alike, but we still have a particular tribe that we gravitate towards.
Family. It's called family. You have your family. You're raised in different habitats. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has a family. Family goes to different degrees. You know what I mean? So because, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking that I'm not even like y'all can hear me or anything. Yeah, but yeah, it's I think it's more like a family thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like the people that's close to you. So you're gonna look out for them and stuff like that because there's a relationship there between you and your family. But I work with all different nationalities, and honestly, I don't really look at the world like that. Even though know that's happening, I don't like. I mean, because I work with a lot of different nationalities, and it seems like we all on equal basis. I never had any issues with like racism, anything. We get along just fine, work together. So, it's fine with me. You know, what I mean, everybody work together and get the job done, and that's why I'm not really like kind of caught up in racism. It's just how the system works. And to me, I'm just like kind of for the whole world. You know what I mean? I just feel that it's time we move to a better level, to a higher level. And honestly, I know that's not possible from one individual. So I just want to live my best life because I know even, even trying to protect and trying to show people the right way. I mean, you can, like you said, you can show them a picture and show them what the picture should look like or could look like, but it's still your personal picture. So it's really up to you to build your own garden and all that shit and enjoy it and make your life what it is, because that's really what we are here to do. We are all dimensions to me. We are all dimensions. We all see differently. We all have a picture of a different world, like how the world should be or how people should treat each other or what they should be doing. How we all got our own vision. And to be honest with you, that's the jewel what's inside of us. And that's why they call it many universes. The universe, they don't mean the universe out there. They mean the universes amongst you. Every mind is a universe. Every mind can bring a new dimension to the world. Every man's goal is really to bring forth their perception of what the world should be. And it's kind of like, in this world today, may the strong survive. I can be God, you can be God, whatever y'all want to call it. We all have the power to alter the world to what we see it to be, not from what somebody else to be. And that's the problem. You can't see the world like somebody else, but you can respect them. If you respect people, things work out. When you don't respect them, that's when shit happens. Respect.
You know,
I don't know what that is. I've never seen that.
People love me.
Also you can't wait 1 second. But you also have to be aware of what's around you. You have to be aware of the reality that is around you. You know
that's the respect part.
Right. So even though like you may not be this way, but it's out there. You may be in an environment where it's there. You may not interact on a daily basis, but there may be, it's still there. It still does exist. So yeah, we can control our personal elements of it, right? But we still have to interact. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
I know you understand what you're saying, but that's where the respect comes in.
What I was gonna say,
you're not aware that it's out there. It still exists. You know what I mean? So.
What I was gonna say was that because Pot said like he works with all different people, or like people love me, all kind of people. They love me. But I think if they knew like my views on certain things, would I be as loved? You know what I'm saying? Like, so as long as we're not talking about certain things, like, yeah, you can like.
And it's your energy too.
It's not like you're being hateful, or you can mix and mingle with different people and just kind of, but.
It's also your energy. People can sense your energy. Your energy can change somebody's mind. Your energy. When you bring energy with you amongst people, you could be the.
I have all people that come to me.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but you could be the blackest person in the world, and you could walk into all races, whatever. If it's let's imagine it's all. If your energy is that right energy, everybody will love you, respect you, and everything. You come with that right energy. They ain't got no choice. They ain't got no choice.
My youngest son.
I'm sorry, Tasha, if I cut you off. I wasn't trying to cut you off.
My youngest son has this energy about him where he can mix and mingle with, like, he'll go places and like people. I have people that still they ask about my children, but it's mostly like, how's Javon? You know what I mean? Like, it's not the other two. It's like, how's Javon? Because like people just love him. Like it's something about his energy. Like and he's also a free spirit. So he is who he is.
It takes a certain energy. It takes a certain kind of energy. So I said it takes a certain level of energy to change.
He's a different type of kid. Like nothing like.
Put those people in a house and in charge. You'll see the whole world change just like that. The whole world will fucking change just like that if you put the right spirits.
Yeah, he doesn't follow any rules, any blueprint, nothing. He's just his own.
They love you,
but they love him. Everybody loves him. Like
that's a seed for the future.
Yeah,
that's what you have to send out to the future. Okay, to wrap things up. The race
you had
thing.
something to say, right, Tasha? Hold on. I'm sorry, Dre. Did you say something, Tasha? You were saying something. Come on, Tasha. You got to say something.
Yeah,
man.
Come on, Tasha.
I don't remember. I be trying to interject, but then I be going, so I just sit back and then I forget. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, baby. I don't know. It's there. I've experienced it on all levels. Everybody's experienced it on all levels. I mean, just it exists. It's been existing, and people like Jay was saying, people like me, all kinds of people, all kinds of people, like they love me. Not, you know what I mean? And that's cool. And I don't have no problems with anybody outside of any races or anything like that. But I'm aware that it exists because I've experienced it with my own people and outside of my own race. So it's just, that's all. I mean, it's just know it's there. Don't be oblivious to it just because it's blanket and they make it so easy to kind of,
make it subtle.
Make
it very subtle where you can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it, but it's there and working in the background. So to wrap things up, is America still racist?
Yes.
But I think that racism has evolved. It has evolved into something that is very subtle, where people can't recognize it anymore, but it's still there. My thing is this, and I'll say it again. This is something that, because it's permeated throughout the entire globe, it's never going to change until the entire system gets destroyed. That sounds crazy, but it is what it is.
Got his day coming.
And out of that destruction, you have a new ideology, a new way of thinking that comes out of that. And you give birth to something that is more along the lines of all-encompassing. And that's the only way out of this thing that we call racism, because racism has taken on a consciousness in itself, because it's permeated throughout our books, our food, the medical system,
everything,
television, fashion, you name it. There is a racist component to it, whether you can see it or not. It is there. And that's why it's so more deadly now, because racism that you can't see can get further and clamp his claws deeper into what you're trying to achieve in life, versus racism you can see, you can kind of stomp it out and put a stop to it. It's more deadly. That's why I don't give a fuck about voting and shit like that, really. But the thing is, when you take a personality like Trump, who's just going to tell you off the cuff,
you like that. I like that too.
He's just going to say what's on his, whether you agree with it or not, whether it's goofy or not. I want someone to say exactly how they feel about me, so I know exactly how to deal with that person, versus the person saying, I come bearing gifts, and we're happy, and I love you. Meanwhile, you're planning my whole demise, and I can't even do shit to kind of protect myself.
Right.
Racism. That's what I tell people all the time about that.
Racism of today is like that.
Right.
And that goes for everybody, regardless of what race you are. We're all affected by it. Directly and indirectly, we're all affected by it. So on that note, is there anything else you guys want to add to the bill before we kind of move things right along?
I just gotta say, man, the world needs these.
I was gonna say one of those kahunas, like balls.
The world is missing these, though. The world has no balls anymore. There's no balls here. They trained us men to grow without balls. I don't know what we're gonna do. We gotta change that. Men don't have balls anymore. If you pull down their pants, they don't have no balls anymore.
And this is his solution to racism.
Grow some balls, and then
my solution to racism. We're gonna have to start over. It is what it is. So, on that note,
and I had something to say.
Go ahead, hurry up. Let's wrap this thing up.
Something to say, man. Just close it out. But I had something to say. I can't remember, man. But I had something very important to say. But I
are listening to a POD
Hot solution to racism is to grow some balls.
Direct.
Right, and that's just going to perpetuate another layer of racism in itself.
Right, because some people don't have balls. Right.
I love it. I love it.
And that's going to boil down to a race thing.
So somebody ain't got balls. Yeah, I can feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, guess what I did? I went to a marijuana plant. I had to deliver some couple of ovens to this big ass marijuana plant, dog. This dude was showing me. He was showing me everything in the place. It's like it's way down there in the Everglades.
So,
where
I am your brother, Mordi. This is POD Podcast. We are put out direct. I'm gonna say, have a nice one to all my co-hosts, DCR.
Oh my God, Pop.
Sister J and Tasha.
I love them.
We had a good show today. It's been great. Dave in the chat, Omar in the chat. Love y'all, and see y'all on the other side.
That's a story we gotta talk, man. I know about this little thing. I mean, I go to this place, man. Yo.
Got him. Got him.